The thing that worries me is that the Eagles, and we've seen it, they can play a bad half and still win a game. I don't know if the 49ers live in that land where they can play a bad half and still win a game in this game. The Eagles, I don't know how they have covered up all of their mistakes with execution when it matters the most or just being a bully when it matters the most. But the Eagles have played poorly and won. The Niners, when they've played poorly this year, have lost all three of those games. So do you think the Niners can have a bad first half, be down at halftime, and still win this game? Because I don't either.
No,
I think
they got a fire in both halves. I mean, Philly is in a weird spot. They've been outgained by a combined 339 yards in their past three games against Buffalo, Kansas City, and Dallas.
Ooh, hold
all
on,
playoff teams.
I'm going to use that later today. I haven't even seen that. 339 over their last three.
Outgained by a combined 339 yards past three games. And they found ways to win these games. So, they are living right, and they find a way, they find a way. It's to me, that's really one of the interesting angles on this game is just that Philly has been able to win these games even when they're not necessarily playing great football. So they have an ability to turn it on. And at halftime of this last game against Buffalo, Jalen Hurts had 2 turnovers. He had thrown for 33 yards and they just looked dead. And then all of a sudden, boom, 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 boom. And they beat Buffalo, and Hurts played almost a perfect second half and overtime. So, Philly is they're really, really good. They're well coached. They have a belief that they're always going to win. And, but to me, the Niners have one area of the field where I think they're going to win this game, and that's the middle of the field. If you look at the numbers, Purdy's leading the NFL in efficiency on intermediate passes. He's averaging 13 yards per attempt on those intermediate passes. The Eagles' biggest defensive deficiency is on those passes in the intermediate level between the hashes, where they've allowed a 95.6 QBR. So I think that plays right into the 49er hands. Just keep doing what you're doing well. Brock Purdy completing passes in the middle of the field. So, I mean, a lot of it's going to come down to, the 49ers rely on yards after the catch. The Eagles defense, despite allowing a huge share of completions over the middle, they have tackled exceptionally well. So they've eliminated the yards after the catch better than all but 2 other NFL teams. So they're third in the NFL at minimizing yards after the catch. The Niners need to bust some big plays after the catch. And if they do, I think this game could be a major advantage 49ers.
Banks, Brindle, Burford versus Jalen Carter. And the middle, the rest of those Eagles in the middle. But man, he is a beast. He's an absolute monster. Teams that passed on him in the name of we don't like where he is, we don't like the status that he's stepping into the NFL with. Teams might have wanted to ignore that because he's special, Larry. He is a beast out there, and he is the reason why, Hargrave became expendable. Because they knew that they had a very good chance to get this guy due to his falling draft stock, which was all headline based more than talent based, So Jalen Carter is a beast. Are we going to see John Feliciano involved in this game? Is he going to be rotating in for maybe whoever isn't playing well in the moment?
I asked Chris Forster yesterday about this, and he said, I said, Feliciano, is he superior to Burford? And, he didn't want to get into superior because he's trying to build up Burford. He may need Burford.
Right.
Feliciano filled in for Burford last week against Seattle and allowed 4 pressures and 4 hurries and 34 pass blocking snaps. So Forster danced around the question of is Feliciano superior to Burford? But
let me ask you, don't dance around the question. Is he?
Well, I mean, it's the offensive line play is a very difficult thing to evaluate.
Right.
But I would say that he's more dependable because of his veteran experience. And when I asked Forster about it, he said that he's what separates Feliciano from Burford is Feliciano's ability as a pass protector. That he's really good in pass protection and that he's dependable in pass protection. So they like Burford. They feel, like he's got a bright future, but I expect to see Feliciano, who played 66 snaps last week at right guard. I expect he's going to play all the snaps at right guard. That'd be my guess.
All the snaps. Yeah. I think left to right, you're going to see obviously Trent Williams, Aaron Banks, Jake Brendel, and then Feliciano at right guard and Colton McKivitz at right tackle. So it's, we'll see how it all goes. Feliciano only had a 44.4 PFF grade, which was the lowest of the 49er offensive linemen last week against Seattle, but he's also, dependable. And according to Forster, the strength of his game is pass protection, and he's a veteran, and they're going to lean on Feliciano. You think the Eagles are tired?
I think the Eagles are tired. I think the one thing that's really coming clear is that, it's like when you're on top, it looks like, man, you're going to be there forever. And then all of a sudden you see the frailty of these men and these football teams when they get a little age. Who's banged up right now? Well, you got Goddard, who's coming off a fractured forearm. He said he was going to try to play, but he didn't make practice yesterday. Chances are he's not going to play. And then you've got Lane Johnson, who's got some age on him. Kelsey, who's got some age on him.
Yeah.
You got Fletcher Cox, who's got some age on him, who's, got a groin issue, didn't practice. Zach Cunningham's not old, but he's hurt. So, I think some of, Philly's got a few older players that they lean on. Fletcher Cox, Lane Johnson, Jason Kelsey are their veterans. And all those guys are a little bit dinged up, and I just feel like, if you said to me, do you feel better about the Niners winning this game or better about the Niners potentially winning a playoff game in Philly? Well, I feel good about this game, but I actually feel better about the Niners' chances the next go around because I just think that when you have key veteran players, such a long year, it really is a war of attrition. We're starting to see the Eagles start to be, beaten up a little bit. And I just think that every day that goes by, it's more advantage to the younger team, and the Niners are the younger team. They have more youth on their side. So we'll see. But I asked Forster about Jalen Carter. I said, what separates, because he highlighted 2 guys yesterday, Hassan Reddick, who's going up against Colton McKivitz. And he talked about how Reddick, he liked him in Arizona, but he's totally gotten to a different level with Philadelphia, and that he's so fast, around the corner that it puts a lot of pressure on McKivitz. I think they're probably going to help McKivitz against Reddick. But when I asked him specifically about Jalen Carter, I said, what stands out about Carter? And he's like, just the explosiveness, at that size. I mean, Jalen Carter just gives you a few moves. That's, 6'3", 315 pounds. He's got explosive movement and speed that you just don't see in a 315-pound man. So he's going to be an absolute beast. He was a monster wrecker at Georgia. Everybody knew that he was their best. He had some off-field things, and he didn't interview real well. Supposedly, when he went up to Seattle, the Seahawks really wanted him at the top of the draft. He didn't work out well. He didn't interview well. They kind of felt like maybe he didn't want to play in the Pacific Northwest, and so they went with Devin Witherspoon. But yeah, Jalen Carter is a spectacular talent.
You know what?
And
You know who he reminds me of a little bit is Vita
that?
Vea.
Oh, he's way faster. Vita Vea is bigger and broader, but this guy is like, to me, he reminds me of like kind of a young Reggie White.
Well, come on, you just can't go a young Reggie White. It's like every good quarterback is a young Tom Brady. Come on, Reggie White's one of the greatest football players ever.
And this guy's got some of the greatest talent I've ever seen. I mean, we're talking about a 315-pound guy who ran 4.95, and supposedly, could have run faster. Some people feel like he's a 4.7 guy that just kind of didn't really run well, and showed up at 4.95. You're talking about incredible movement skills. When I saw this guy at Georgia, he wearing 99, I thought, wow, look at this guy. Look at the movement ability. He's got short area explosiveness, and then he's also got speed. So he's a monster. He's a wrecker. He can get to, he can show explosive movements inside and he's a lot more refined than you would think. As a guy who's a rookie in the NFL. I mean, it's a technique rich position, and yet his technique is really, really sound.